All right, so again, here's your AWS console. What we're going to do now is create an EC2 instance. This EC2 instance will be used to host your code. So we've seen how to host your code, your HTML and JavaScript code using an S3 bucket. But that's very limited because it's just like it's a static storage. Now, we'll see how to do the same thing using an EC2 instance, which is more of a what you might be familiar with, a server or a computer. There are multiple OSs that you could use for the EC2 instance. You could spin it off on a Linux OS. You could spin it off on a Windows OS, whichever one. And also Amazon have their own OS. OS is operating system. So let's see for me, I have EC2 here because I've used it a few times. I also have it here. You can click on any of those. And if you look on the left navigation here, instances, click on instances. I have one here. And what I'm using this for will become apparent, if not today, probably next week, but it will become apparent very soon. But what we need to do real quick is create an instance. So come over here, launch instance. Just let's launch instance from scratch. Call it whatever name you want to call it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to call this Olumide EC2. Let me call it cs298. And you can pick any of this: Mac OS, AWS, Linux, Ubuntu, blah, 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 blah. My advice is pick AWS, Linux. I believe the commands I'm going to give you will be for AWS Linux. Okay, so we pick that, which is the default. And most of the other stuff here are going to be default. What you want to make sure is that this shows free tier on the instance type, that you see free tier here. There are a few other, let's see if we can find any other free tier. So most of the other powerful box instances are not free tier, but that's fine. We're not running anything very computation intensive. So even the small one is going to be fine for us. What do we have here? We have, it has just 1 GB of memory. Okay, no problem. It has 1 virtual CPU. That's okay. Not a big deal either. So for me, it's asking me to use an existing one. For you, what you want to do, and I'm going to do that as well now so that you can see the key pair, which is used when you log in from the command line. Okay. So we're going to create a new key pair. This is, so before, most times when you want to log into a server, you have the username and the password. But nowadays, for more security conscious systems, we use what is known as a public and private key. So the machine that you have, or your own local machine, has your what's it called, private key. It belongs to you. You keep it safe. You do not lose it. You do not share it with anybody else. But your public key will be on all the other servers that you want to be able to log into. So for example, now, when we create our key now, we'll get a file. You have to keep it securely. And the public key will also be generated, and that will be deposited on this EC2 instance for us. You don't have to do that. the system, Amazon does that for you automatically. So create new key. Let's call this Olumide new. Well, new doesn't really make sense. EC2 key. I'm gonna call that April 2023. Leave everything else the same. And now it's asking you to save it somewhere. Please do download it and save it. This is the only time you'll have an option and the opportunity to save it. Okay. So for me, I'm going to save it somewhere. Okay. All right. Find a secure place to save it. I'm going to move this away later. Because you will need it later. So save it somewhere safe and do not lose it. All right. Network, most of this is fine. Select an existing security group. In your case, you probably have create security group. Let's create a new security group. A security group is basically what either gives access to your server in terms of traffic, inbound traffic, that is requests going to your server, and outbound traffic, that is responses coming out of your server. For the purpose of this particular instance or this particular demonstration, we need a few things. We need to be able to serve our web server, right? Which is what will host the web page. So let's see. Allow SSH traffic from anywhere. SSH is how we will connect to this to the EC2 instance. That's the protocol. Normally, when you go on the internet and you click on HTTP, let's see, https://cnn.com, that's the HTTPS protocol, right? Some of you probably have seen the FTP protocol as well before, that you can use to upload files to an FTP server if you're sharing files. If you are trying to connect from the command line to a Linux machine, especially, we call that you use what is known as the SSH protocol. Actually, let me see, what's SSH? I think it's secure socket. What does the H stand for, real quick? SSH meaning secure shell. Sorry, forgive me. I should remember that. Anyway, so we are going to allow SSH here, and I will show you how to use that in a second. We will use that along with the file you downloaded from Keepier here. Allow HTTPS traffic from the internet. Allow HTTP traffic from the internet. I'm gonna check both of these two, but the one we will use is HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. For us to use HTTPS, we need to set up an SSL certificate, a secure socket layer certificate, SSL certificate. And for us to get a working SSL certificate, a meaningful one, the one that will actually work, then we need to pay for that. And just like we are not paying for a domain name, we're also not paying for an SSL certificate in this setting. Again, when it comes to real life, when you're working, you will not have to deal with that. In fact, this EC2 instance setup, you will not have to deal with that. Your tech ops or DevOps people will do that for you. All right, so this 3 is what we need, and we'll keep that like that. What else? Configure storage. We don't really need much storage, but it says what? Free tier eligible customers get up to 30 GB of blah, blah, blah. So why not? Let's go up to 16. Let's do 16 GB. We are not using anything close to that at all, but let's keep it at 16. We don't need to add new volume. A volume is just a disk, okay? But we're not using that. Advanced details, you don't need to change anything here. Leave all of that. We can do stop protection. Stop protection, enable. That means someone cannot just stop your and termination protection. Someone cannot just mistakenly terminate your server or what's it called, or stop it. Let's see. Yeah. Shutdown behavior will be stop. Okay. You don't want shutdown behavior to be terminate, because if you need to shut down your shut down your EC2 instance, maybe because you know you're not going to use it for a couple of days, you don't want it to terminate. Terminate means basically you kill it, and then the next time if you need an EC2 instance, you have to create a new one from scratch. So we want our shutdown behavior to be stop, not terminate. Instance auto recovery, let's leave it as default. CloudWatch monitoring, don't worry about this for this particular scenario. Elastic GPU, no, let's not do that. Elastic instance, let's not do that. Credit specification, let's skip that. I'm not going to do anything in all of this, so let me just collapse that back. And let's go ahead and launch our instance. What is the name of the instance again? Where is it? I gave it a name, right? Okay, yeah, Olumide EC2 cs298. So it's provisioning our server at this point, and we're all good. So our server is there. There are multiple things you could do here. You could create billing and free tier usage alert. So normally in the real world, if you spin off a new server or a new service, you want to be able to monitor it. And maybe let's say you have a budget where you don't want to spend more than $120 a year on that service. $120 a year means $10 a month. So you want to create an alert that $10 a month, maybe any month that you get to $8, you want somebody to be notified, right? So that they see, well, why is it that high? If it's on the 28th of the month and it's $8, not a problem. But if it's on the 6th of the month and it's $8, that means you're going to blow through your $10 a month budget pretty quickly. Connect to your instance if you want to connect to it, and we'll use this in a second. Connect an RDS database, a relational data storage database. We are not going to use that for this particular instance. What I realized is, so you can't necessarily connect to a database through JavaScript, right? You need to use maybe Node.js or something like that. And I don't want to go through that because I don't know. We all have different skill levels. Another way you can connect to a database is using PHP, which nobody has informed me that they are familiar with. So we're not going to use this connect an RDS database. We're not going to use create elastic what's it called, EBS volume policy. This basically will create, if I'm right, we'll create a snapshot of our volume That is the storage disk every so often. If you want a snapshot every day or a snapshot every week, whatever it is, a snapshot is like a backup that you can roll back into. Managed detailed monitoring, we're not going to deal with that. Create a load balancer. What does a load balancer do? A load balancer, for example, if you have a web server, what is a web server? Let me back up. A web server is a piece of software that listens on a particular server. A server is a computer, a machine. You can run a server on your laptop, you can run a server on your desktop. In this case, we're going to be running a server very soon on our EC2 instance. So what was I saying? Yeah, a web server is a piece of software written by somebody that knows how to listen on a particular port and serve information. That will make more sense as we go, probably, hopefully. Now, let's say you are running a website that has a lot of traffic, and you just want to be sure that there is enough. You want to be sure that your web server is always up. What you do in such a situation is you probably run multiple web servers. Maybe you have 2, 3, 4 EC2s. And because each of them are different web servers, what you put a load balancer, which is also another piece of software, in most cases, in front of all the 3 or 4 EC2 instances or 3 or 4 servers. And as traffic is coming, as requests is coming to your for your website, it goes through the load balancer, and the load balancer knows how to pick which of the servers behind it to send your request to. So if one of those servers was to go down, the load balancer will not send any traffic to it, right? But if you didn't have a load balancer and you just have one server, when that server goes down, then nobody can reach your website. But if you have multiple websites, multiple servers up, and the load balancer in front of it, anybody that comes in, unless all your servers, all the 4 of them are down, at that point, then, well, nobody can do anything. But hopefully, before you get to that state, you've been alerted, and you've remediated the situation. So that's a load server. Create AWS budget. We're not doing that as well. Manage CloudWatch alarms. CloudWatch is Amazon's, what's it called, monitoring system. So it can help you monitor that this service is up, this service is down, blah, blah, blah. Let's say that, at night, nobody uses your website and you have a database that you are using with your website. So you can set it that the database goes down at night for maintenance, for backup, for whatever it is. But then the database comes back up in the morning, 8 a.m., 7 a.m. You can also set up a CloudWatch to make sure that at 8 a.m. that database is up. If it's not up, then an alert gets sent to you. So these are some of the quick things that you see at the bottom here. All right. I said we're going to use this, right? Connect to your instance. Well, we could use this. I could click on this, but you know what? Let's go back to our instance. You could click on this. Actually, let me click on instances here. Same thing. So you see all the instances. This is the one I just created, right? It says it's running because it got up. I gave it a few seconds or so to run. One of the things you want to note down is the public IP of your server here. 3.129.13.142. That's the IP that Amazon has assigned to that server. So I want to copy it somewhere. Let me just type it somewhere. 3.129.13.142. Okay. All right. A few things. If I right click anywhere on that record, it gives me connect here. Well, see how it's, let's go through this context, right? Launch instances, if we want to launch more instances of it, right? Launch instance from templates. As a DevOps person, you probably, if you're managing, a large organization, you don't want to be doing this manually. You want to create a template that you can use to launch services or services and servers very quickly. So you have a template for EC2s, you have a template for S3 buckets, you have a template for RDS, Dynamo, DocumentDB, all those various services. Migrate server, if we want to migrate this to another one, who knows, maybe we chose, you know what, Amazon Linux is not good for us, let's move to another OS. If you want to connect to it, which is what we're going to do in a second, if you want to stop this instance, basically you want to shut it down rather than terminate it. So if you stop it, it shuts down, but you still own it. It's still under your account. So if Amazon was billing for this, assuming they were billing for this, then you will be billed for it. Reboot instance. Reboot is what reboot means, right? Oops, what happened? I lost that. If you want to see settings of your instances, various settings are there. Networking, parameters, security, image and template, monitor, and all that stuff, right? What we want is to connect. I can either do connect here, or I can click into this and click connect here. But again, when you click on it, you see a lot of the parameters about your machine. One of the most important parameter for you for this class is going to be what I'm looking for, the public IP. I know I saw it earlier. Yeah, the public IP. So copy that, keep it somewhere. Copy that, keep it somewhere. You will need it. All right, click on connect here. There are multiple ways you could connect to your server. One of the quick ways is this. Watch this. EC2 Instance Connect. You could actually connect to it on your browser right here. The user that's automatically created for you is EC2-user. Okay, leave it as that. And if you click connect here, so now you are connected to your server. Nothing there, because we didn't do anything, right? So those are the processes that are running there. Okay, let's do another thing. Let's say you want to connect to it from, remember how we downloaded a security file earlier? You will use it in conjunction with, assuming you want to connect from the terminal of your machine, of your laptop. So open a new terminal. For me, I'm using a MacBook, so I have my terminal icon there. I believe if you're on a Windows, it's just type terminal in the search box and it will come up for you. If you're in a Linux machine environment, just open any terminal window and it's right there. So here is what the command will look like. What is this one? Okay, I need another window. View, new, I need new window. Okay. PWD, okay. So what I want to do is I want to go to where my, where that file is stored. I think I stored it in Spring, NWCC cs298, right? So I have that file. The file I had before, this is it, Olumide EC2 key APR 2023. All right. So to connect to your new EC2 instance from the command line, and I'll tell you why this is important. It's important because an easy way for you to upload your HTML JavaScript files to your server. So let's do this. All you need to do is type SSH dash I, the letter I, lowercase, and then the name of your key, which is in my own case, Olumide blah 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 .cer. Okay, so you're telling it the SSH command, which is a secure shell command, use this file as my identity file. Use this file to identify me on this server. And you are going to connect as the user EC2 user. Remember in the other window, actually, if you look at this command here, all right, SSH right here, SSH-I, the file name, they have it in quotes. You don't have to. Then the EC2-user at your server name. This is the long name of your server. If you want to use that, let's see, let me see, I should be able to use the IP address 3.129.13.142. Let's see if it accepts that. I believe it should. This key is not known by any other. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes, I want to continue connecting because it's saying that because that's the first time I'm connecting to the server. So YES, lowercase, YES, enter, press enter. Warning, unprotected private key file. Yes, and that makes sense. What is happening is when I look at my file, let's do ls minus l, ls space hyphen l h, or you can just do space hyphen ltr. This is my my key file, right? If you look here, there are some codes that are here that which is the reason why it's complaining. Normally, these codes are grouped into three. There is the one that affects me as the person using that file or the person that owns that file. Then there is the one that affects another layer called the group. That is the group I belong to on this laptop that I'm in, that I'm on. And then there's what is known as worldwide. Basically, for me, it's RW is what is for me. That is, I can read and I can write this file. R is for my group, and R is for everybody else in the world. So anybody that has access to this version can read this file. And that's exactly why it's complaining, because this is supposed to be a security file, a security key file, just like your username and password. Nobody, no, not username and password, use your password. Nobody else should be able to have access to it. Nobody else should be able to read it. And that's exactly why it's complaining here, because everybody else in the world that has access to this my laptop can read this file. It doesn't like that, and it wants me to fix that. And also, if you notice on the window here, it talked about running this command, chmod. Chmod just stands for change mode. Change mode. The mode right now is readable and writable by me, readable by everybody, readable by everybody else in the world. No, readable by my group, and then readable by everybody else in the world. So we need to change that. chmod 400 and the file name. All right. So if we do an ls again, see all the W's are gone and all the other R's are gone. The only R that is left is mine. And that means I'm the only one that can read this file. Nobody else can read this file. So we need to run that same SSH command again. All I'm just doing is using the up arrow key to get my previous command. So now I'm connected to the same machine. ls, nothing there. Let's say if I wanted to, I'm going to create a file here. I'll use the touch command, olu.test. Okay. Now let's go to our other connection and see if we can find, if that file is here. See, that's it, olu.test, right? So basically we've connected to our machine at the command line from two different places. The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to install, and you can do that from here. You can do that from either of the two windows. See, these two windows are the same thing. If you type the letter W, it shows you two people are logged in, right? Right, two people are logged in. Actually, if I do who, yeah, two people are logged in. Blah blah blah. We need to install the web server. In this case, we'll use one of the most popular web servers in the world, which is known as the Apache HTTPD web server. It's probably I don't think it's one of the most popular, it's the most popular web server in the world. It's freely available and it's there. The command to run that, I actually have that somewhere here and I will post it in Blackboard as well. But the first command is, I'm just going to copy it from here and paste it. The first command is sudo yum update. Sudo yum update. So yum is the installer on this platform. Why is it called yum? I do not know. And a TechOps or DevOps person will probably explain that to you better. But again, you don't need it. Also bear in mind that for your work, when you are gainfully employed, you will not be doing this installation because you will only tell the TechOps person or the DevOps person, listen, I need an EC2 server that, has this software I need, this software I need, that software I need, and they will set it up for you. There are actually other ways, like there's things that are called images that you can pull from the AWS marketplace that will have this already installed. But so when we do sudo yum update, we are saying update the current installation package on this machine to make sure everything is up to date. It says nothing to do, complete. Okay, so we'll move on to the next command. I'm going to paste this here again. That is sudo yum install. We're doing an install now. HTTPD x86-64. Okay. That HTTPD x86-64 is the name of the Apache HTTPD version that's available for us to install on this system. Different system might have different naming, and different versions of the Apache software might have different naming systems, but that's what we have here. And it goes through all that, and you should be clean, you should be fine, okay? Two more things. The first one is we're going to start our server, because now we've installed it. If you don't start it, it still cannot do anything. So here we're telling it to start the HTTPD service. Yeah, we don't see anything, but it started. If you do ps axf, ps space axf, pipe grep HTTPD, it shows C. Yeah, there are a bunch of processes running like that. And if we change the start to stop, and if you run the PSAXF grep HTTPD again, nothing. Okay, so because it's shut down, it shut down the Apache the HTTPD what's it called, software. So let's start it again because we want it running. Okay, Then the other thing we want to do is we want to make sure that every time, because right now, when if we were to take down this EC2 machine, just shut it down, don't terminate it, just shut it down, and then restart it, the EC2 instance itself, the HTTPD software, or HTTPD, in other words, they call it daemon, DEAMON, not daemon, daemon, will not restart by itself. See how here we had to restart it manually. We had to start it manually. What we want to do is we want to say, hey, listen, every time this machine starts up, I want this software as well to start running. You know, on Windows has this thing that says run at startup, right? So it's something similar, a similar concept. So paste, and the command is enable HTTPD service. So whenever we shut down this machine and restart it, the HTTPD service will also start. So it says it's created the symlink and you're good to go. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is, well, we said we started our web service. Let's see if it works. To see if it works, what we need to do is go to the web server, we'll go to a web browser and type in the IP address. So HTTP, not HTTPS, don't use HTTPS because we do not have HTTPS. And even though we have that in the policy enabled, we don't have an SSL certificate for this system. So HTTP, make sure you put that there, // then your IP address, whatever your own IP address is. For me, it is 3.129.13.142. And then it says it works, right? Let's try something real quick. So I'm just, this is not necessarily a step you need to do. If you've ever used either Emacs, Nano, VI, Pico, you can use any of those four. For me, VI is what I like. So I'm going to change the default page here just real quick before we deploy our code. I'm just going to change this, what's it called? The default page. So instead of saying it works, the root directory, directory for our web server, that is a document root where it pulls files from, is, so we are doing CD, which is change directory, CD, it's var/www/html. Okay. Nothing is there right now. And then you're probably thinking in your head, okay, well, if nothing is there, how come it showed it works? That's because that's just the default with the software package. But once we put a file here, it overwrites that default. So I'm going to do touch index.html. Oh, it says no permission. So one thing I forgot to mention or clarify earlier. Who am I? Watch this. Who am I? I am the EC2-user. But in my command to start the Apache service or the HTTPD service, I said sudo. Sudo on a Linux platform or on a Mac platform is used to refer to the root user. That is the almighty root admin user. So what I've done on this line here is I've said, start this service as the root user. Okay, which is how you want to start it, really. But doing that also means that the files under this service are probably not accessible to everybody else. Watch this. So where am I? I'm in HTML. So if I step back one directory, and then I do the same ls -lt, So if you notice, the HTML directory is owned by root. So that's why you have the first letter D there stands for directory. This is a directory. Then RWX is for this user. That's the person that permission belongs to. R is for read, W is for write, X is for execute. The next set of threes is hyphen, which means no permission. XR, what's that? XR, which is execute and write, and read, is for this person, which is root as well. But the rest of the world is just execute. So really for this one, what we want to do is, we have two ways of dealing with this, okay? We can either say, which this is not good, and I hate the fact that I'm going to do this while I'm recording because it's not secure, it's not safe at all. But let's do a quick and dirty one, which will make things go faster for us. If we were a checkup person or a dev person, we'll never do it this way. So chmod 775. Actually, chmod -r, uppercase R, 775 HTML. chmod we saw earlier, it's just changing the mode, which affects the permissions. 775, 7 is read, write, execute. Read, write, actually I want 777 so that everybody can write to this directory. Again, this is not safe, this is not secure. Of course, you can do that for class. Do not ever do this when you're working, never. And then the -r is just saying do it recursively. So it will do it on this directory and any other file or directory that's within the HTML directory. Nothing is there right now, but by the time we add other stuff to it, it will also take on those roles. And I need to put sudo in front of it because I don't own this directory. So sudo chmod -r 777 HTML. Okay, so now I'm going back into the HTML directory, and I'm going to create, just using the touch command, touch index.html. All right, nothing is in index.html, nothing. So when I reload this page, I should see nothing. Nothing. Because now it's not using the default, it's using my index.html. Now let's go back. I want to put something inside the index.html. I'm going to use VI. If you are not comfortable, again, this step, you don't necessarily need to worry about it. If you are not comfortable with VI, maybe you know Pico, maybe you know another tool, Emacs, whatever it is. But if you don't know any, then don't even worry. You don't need to create this because we'll just copy our existing code over here. So vi index.html, and I'm going to quickly create my body. H1. Okay. So I'm saving that. And if I refresh this page, I should see hello Olumide. All right. So that is setting up your Apache, your HTTPD server. HTTPD stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The D in HTTPD stands for daemon, which a daemon is really a process on a Linux machine that's continuously running. Okay, DAE, not DE, DAEMON. Real quickly. So this piece of URL here, say it says Chrome says not secure. That's fine. We know it's not secured. If I was to go to another website, Amazon.com, and I see not secured here, I mean that will not be fine. I should get away from that real quickly. But we know in our case, because we are not setting HTTPS, it's showing us as not secured. Then this is the IP. Okay. Now, by default, a web server listens on what is known as port 80. You know, it's like your house. There are multiple doors, right? The front door, the back door, the side door, maybe the second back door, whatever it is. Now, each of those doors, when a guest comes in, each of those doors, you can accept guests from there. But let's say you have a rule that says, I only accept guests from the back door. If a guest comes from the front door and presses the bell, bangs their head on the door, on the floor, you're not going to open the door, right? But if a guest comes in through the back door and says, hey, blah, 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 you accept them in. If they come in through the second back door, which is not the one you're accepting guests from, you do not accept them. They're coming through the side door, you do not accept them. It's the same concept with ports. A port is we say a piece of software that is accepting requests. For example, a web server listens to a particular port or a particular set of ports for certain requests. By default, a regular HTTPD server will listen on what is known as port 80. So HTTP is normally set to be port 80. HTTPS is set to be port 443. So for this same URL, if I were to put, this is how ports are added to your URL, :80. At the end of the IP address or the end of the domain name. So if I were to go to www.cnn.com, :80, it's the same thing as www.cnn.com without anything. So for this one, I'm putting 80 at the end. It will still serve me the same web page. If I put 443 there, it expects me to be coming from an HTTPS protocol. So I'm going to have problem, apart from the fact that we don't even have SSL, the certificate installed. If we had the certificate installed and I had HTTP as my protocol, not HTTPS, HTTP, and 443 as my port, there will be a problem. And vice versa too. If I have HTTPS and 80 as my port, there's going to be a problem. Some other popular ports are like your email ports. When your email server is listening for emails, I believe it's listening on, if I remember very well, on port 25. Okay, just something to bear in mind. See, same thing. It just created a redirect. It's 80, and 80 is the default. So if you don't put 80 there, it automatically assumes it's 80 because it's HTTP. If it's HTTPS, it automatically assumes it's 443. Now, it is also possible, especially like if you are developing a website that you don't want anybody to be able to access, whether if the person if they got there by mistake or whatever, you can change the port on the server. Maybe you want to change it to 81. So if someone were to come to your IP address or to your domain name, and they don't know the port, they are assuming it's port 80. No content will be served because you've changed the default port to 81. But the web browser believes the default port is 80. But anybody that knows your new default port will be able to put 81 there, and it will serve the same thing. So that's setting up our what's it called? That's setting up our what you might call this? Our web server. The next thing is we could now push our, let's push our, so I'm going to get out of this. We are still in this directory, right? We want to push our JavaScript code and all that. We want to push that into this place, into to be served by our web server, right? No longer S3. We want it to be served by our web server. So let me open a new window real quick. Email, what's that? New window. Okay. CD. I'm going to go to where my files are. So Spring and WCC cs298. Okay. So this is where my files are. Now my website is this one that I called Chelsea fan site. That's mine. Yours is whatever you call it. So if I do ls Chelsea fan site, I have this here, HTML, JS, blah, 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 blah. So my directory structure is really messed up. And I created a mess when I was using a template for this, and I'm not fixing it. You guys, for those who have submitted theirs, yours is fine the way you have your directory structure, okay? So just keep following that. Now, what the next thing I want to do is I want to copy this whole Chelsea fan site. I want to copy it to my EC2 server. There are multiple ways you could do this. You could use a third-party tool. You could actually even pull it from the S3 bucket using what is known as the AWS CLI tool. But I'm not going to go into all of that because we have the command line here. Remember that here we did SSH to get into our server. The what's it called? The other, not other is probably not the right word. Anyway, to copy files, what you use is SCP. Okay, SCP. It's like a parallel command. You have SSH if you actually want to go into the server, but you have SCP if you're just copying something to the server or from the server. So what we are going to do is ls. Okay, so we see our folder. This is the command SCP, which basically stands for secure copy -i, and then our key file. Okay, real quick, let me take this again. Hold on, there's a flag that I missed. SCP. So the file what we want to copy is this Chelsea fan site, right? That's what we want to copy. It's a directory, it's not a file. So we need to tell it to copy it recursively, because you don't just want it to copy that directory by itself, you want it to copy all the files inside the directory itself. So give it the -r flag, then -i or -i for your key file. Okay, then you tell it what to copy. You want to copy Chelsea fan site. You know, don't put the closing slash, so just the folder name. So for me, it's Chelsea fan site. For you, it's whatever it is your folder is called. And where do I want to copy it to is the next thing. I want to copy it to EC2 user. That's the user that's going to connect to the server at the @sign. Then my IP address again is 3.129.13.142. Okay. So it's the user at the server, or in this case, the IP address. Then we want to tell it where to put it on that server. So you type the colon, that is ... full colon. And just to keep it simple, we'll ask you to copy it to the /tmp/directory. Note there's a slash before tmp and there's a slash after tmp. And you press enter. And you just wait for it to copy everything. Okay. So if we go to our this is the window for this. This is the one we SSH to before, right? If you do ls on your /tmp, you can see my Chelsea folder there, right? So I did ls on /tmp. You could do ls on /tmp/ in this case, it's the same thing. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to copy everything inside that everything inside the Chelsea folder. We want to copy it to where we are, which we are inside the HTML folder. Okay. I'm going to remove this index.html to start with. Index.html. Okay, because I don't need it any longer. And the moment I remove it, you can refresh your page and it should be gone. It should go back to using the default. It works, yep, which is what is expected. So my command here is cp. Cp is copy. -r, because I wanted to copy everything inside the Chelsea. If you're copying just one file, you don't need the -r or the -r or -r. But if you're copying a folder structure, then you should always have the -r. /tmp Chelsea. Okay. You can put the asterisk there. And that tells it I want to copy everything in there. And where am I copying it into? Remember, I'm inside HTML. So I want to copy it to my current directory where I am currently. So all you need to put is just the dot. The dot tells it copy it here where we are currently. Okay. Of course, you could also, if you like to be verbose, you could say copy it to /var/www/html. Okay. It's the same thing. So if I look inside my HTML, this is what I have there right now. Now, if I refresh this page, it will still be showing me it works, or maybe not even showing me anything. Yep, it works. Because in my HTML directory, there is no index.html file or index.htm. My index.html file is under the HTML folder inside the HTML folder. What do I mean? This is my current directory, var www HTML. These are the contents. There's an HTML folder inside an HTML folder. So ls HTML, ls/var www HTML. That's my folder. then the content I just copied is actually inside another HTML folder. Okay. So for me to actually get to this index.html, I need to put HTML here, /HTML. Does that make sense? We can change that in a second. I just need to remember where the, one second. I just need to remember where the document root is. Let's see, lsvar. Yeah, I can't remember that. Etsy HPD conf. Okay. So via Etsy HPD conf. Oh, you will need sudo because you will not be able to modify this file by yourself. Sudo HPD conf and HPD. Conf. So there's this long file here. If you're able to open it, just search for document root. See, it says my document root is var www HTML, right? I can change that in multiple ways. I can change that here by just saying it's okay, it's HTML/HTML. Okay. Let me see, further relax rules and the default document rule. Okay. Let me change this one here. Let me add HTML to this here. I don't think I have any other place that I need to change. Yeah, that's it. So again, search for document root and add the extra HTML to it, and also to this next one. Add the extra HTML to this one, and you should be fine. Now we need to restart our HTTPD server or service. Save that file. And to restart, we just need we just need sudo system control stop HTTPD service. We could also use the restart command and then start it again. Okay. So let's go back. Now, if I refresh this would not work because it's not expecting the HTML, but let's see it. Yep, it's not working. But if I take that out, now we have that. So I can click on this, a few things, click on this. So basically you can deploy your website in two places now. You've seen S3, this is EC2. I know, some of you will have questions about how to go about this one. Please, by all means, let me know. Send me the questions. I'll put some commands on Blackboard as well to help with this. Next week, the next thing I want to go into is how you can actually load data from a database. Okay. I started working on it and I have something that works. But how we'll do it, anyway, let's deal with this first. I want you to attempt deploying your code to the EC2 server. If you run into any problem, if a command is not working, feel free to take a screenshot, send me, or let me know which command is not working. All right. One other thing that I want you guys to do for me is take a page from your website that you want to have do a database interaction. For me, it's going to be the first Teams page. And what I'm going to use that for is I'm going to load the list of players here. I'm going to load that from the database. Now, to load the list of players from the database, what I need to do is I need to create a database and have players listed there. I need the name of the player. I probably need the position of the player. I need a little bio about the player, the dates the player started, the image of the player as well, right? So I need those 5 things. And then because I'm using JavaScript, I will use Ajax to make a request to my web service to get the data. I'll give you the code for the Ajax, okay? I will even deal with the database stuff for you, but I need you to pick a page on your website that you want to use, that you want to have a database interaction. I think somebody is doing sports, so it could be the list of events. Well, if you want the list of events, what are the data points? Maybe the date of the event, the name of the event, the location of the event, the what's it called? The what's that called now? The a quick description of the event, something like that. So if you can, put that together, pick the page and pick the data points that you want to pull from the database. It's going to be like a list. So for example, for me, it's going to be the service is going to return a list of players, and I'll be able to display that here. If you're doing the service, events, it could be that the service returns to you a list of events, and instead of you hard coding or statically having events in your web page, you just pull that from the web service or from the REST API, and you display that on your web page. In real life, that's actually how content gets displayed. Nobody statically defines anything on their web pages. You actually pull it from a data service. All right. So 2 things this week. One is try and get your EC2, ECT. No, it's EC2. Try and get your EC2 deployment, instance up and running. Deploy your code to it. If you run into any problem, let me know. And then pick a page, determine the data points that you need, and I'll create the web service for you, and I'll show you how to call it from your code or from your web page to how you pull the data and how you display the data on your website as well. One of the things, the reason why I'm doing that, hosting the web service, is I could actually have each of you guys host a web service, but there's a lot of liftings that needs to happen for it to, because you need to connect to a database, and within AWS, databases are hosted in what is known as a VPC. So a VPC is a virtual private cloud. So now we need to get over that, and then you need to write the code that runs the web service, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to abstract that for you. You just need to determine or define the page that needs data from a database and what the data points will be. All right. I'm going to stop here. And again, if you have questions, by all means, please let me know. And I will talk with you guys next week. How do you stop recording?